Wade Barrett, as if you watched Clash at the Castle and then you watched the post show specifically, you would know all of the comments that Wade Barrett had to say about the main event and specifically about CM Punk and his role in the main event. And he was very vocal about his stance on not thinking that it was okay and that there needed to be actions taken against CM Punk, specifically, that's my favorite word right now, firing him, fining him something because he ruined the main event. And this was the second time that he has caused Drew McIntyre in a title match. So then we find out that he was fined for his comments about Punk at Clash of the Castle, but Punk was not. And that is the big reason for what set off Drew, because he feels like he was wronged again. And they haven't done anything to right the situation, despite, it was in Scotland. It was an international pay-per-view, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. What I found the most interesting about this, obviously we know, guys, if you're not, because so many people were confused, it's kayfabe. It's not real. Wade was not kayfabe, really fine.
Yeah,
so many follow-up tweets were like, wait, is this real? No.
Well, his thing, Wade Barrett was fined, not Stu.
Wade Barrett, not Stu Bennett. Stu Bennett. What I thought was interesting though was how many people who are big Punk fans were actually defending Wade. That I thought was interesting because he was calling for his firing. You know what I mean? But I think that people saw truth in what Wade was saying. If you're obviously given just thinking about it from a storyline perspective, they were crediting him for like, yeah, Punk had no right to be out there. Why was he in Scotland? Why was he able to get a referee shirt? Why was he out there and not kicked out? Why was he not fined for impersonating a referee? Why was he not fined for putting his hands or his leg on Drew McIntyre? But then Wade saying things like, oh, he should have been fired. Why was that punishable?
It's kind of a double standard. They put themselves, if you want to go that way. I mean, I don't blame Drew and Wade for saying and doing what they did. When you put it that way, but it adds more fuel to the fire. It adds more fuel to this feud. Yeah. Where it kind of needed it.
Yeah, it's getting deep. Like this
it's getting very deep.
And what's crazy when you really think about it, and that's why I think, and I've advocated for this multiple times, not just because he's one of my favorites, but I do think that Drew McIntyre deserves a hell of a lot more credit than he gets, because the reason why we're so invested in this storyline is not because of Punk. It's because of Drew. Drew has kept this feud with Punk alive when Punk was on the shelf for the past 5-6 months. So the reason why you're so emotionally into this feud and eventual match is because of all the things that Drew was saying, and then the random pop-ups of what Punk was doing in retaliation. So I think that Drew deserves more credit for making us interested in something that hasn't even happened yet. Like, that is a skill that not a lot of people have. A lot of the time, if someone's injured, you kind of, at least in WWE or in wrestling in general, you kind of ignore them. Like, we don't talk. Yeah, you don't talk about them because they're on the shelf. Like, they're not going to be a part of a legitimate storyline unless, like if we're going to talk about like Rey Mysterio and his knee, like that became the fuel for why Santos became a heel. But in general, you're not going to be talking about Rey Mysterio for 5 months while he's dealing with a knee injury. You know what I mean? So shout out to Drew, because I think, as I said, he deserves more credit.